I'm Marti.
And I'm Mari.
And welcome to our channel.
And in today's video, we're gonna talk about how art schools hate anime art and why that should change. We're going to be discussing how anime inspired our art, why we think art schools really, or art teachers in this case, really hate anime, and the many problems that should change in the artistic education system.
Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment down below if you have any suggestions for future videos.
Please watch this video until the very end. Thank you! So our first topic is a bit of a contextual section for the video. So Marti, how and why did anime inspire your art?
When I got into anime, one of the things that really made me very interested in it is how it always experimented and wasn't afraid to give a character pink hair and red eyes and kind of throw away the logic, established logics our world has, just like any other piece of media, fiction and art. It ends up being a very unique one in a sense where not only it comes from a country that in this case I am not familiar with, but also with the fact that the variety of stories that it has to offer is also very interesting. At the time when I got into anime and manga in general, back in maybe 2017 I think, I don't remember well, it really was very unique. It was this thing that, was very up and coming. Anime wasn't still a very mainstream thing. It was only starting, it was only taking its little baby steps to becoming very mainstream, not only here in Portugal, but also in the world in general. And yeah, I think it's a very cool medium that has been able to not only show how great art in the comic and also animation industry can be. So for me personally, the reason why I am still a big fan of anime, even till, now that I'm in my 20s, is because, it's a very, it inspires me quite a lot, because it makes me, understand that, art can be anything that I want, and, just experiment, be creative, and not be afraid of, just experimenting and having fun.
I'd just like to clarify that anime and manga wasn't really a popular thing in Portugal up until 2017, 2018. That's when we started having more anime meetings, more anime cosplayers, and just content creators, conventions, etc. So I do understand that what Marti was saying, in the sense that for us in Portugal, anime was revolutionary because it was way more experimental and crazy and dark, edgy, if that's how I could put it, than the things we have here, than most cartoons that would play on TV and just any artistic piece of media that comes out in the animation space in Portugal, which is almost nothing, honestly. Our animation industry is very, very, very scarce. But yeah, in my case, I also think anime inspired me and my art a lot because it was way more unique than most cartoons that were playing on TV in Portugal. So in some way, I could almost kind of say that anime inspired me to think outside of the box, if that's how I could put it, or just try to risk more when doing art. And I specifically want to mention that it was during the pandemic that I started studying a lot of anatomy and how to draw human bodies and human figures, and it was honestly because of anime and manga like JoJo's Bizarre Adventure that really manipulate and exaggerate proportions in the human body in ways that are so incredibly and so amazing to see and to just witness, if that's how I could put it. So anime in general and manga in general really inspired me to push my art forward in terms of technical skills and experimentation. Now, for our second topic, we're just gonna mention briefly how art schools hate anime and how art teachers are pretty strict and hateful towards anime art and manga. So, since we are Portuguese, we have a very specific point of view. You, our viewers, might disagree, might have different perspectives and different experiences, and that's alright, you could share them in the comments with us. But to us personally, what would happen a lot in art school, and especially not just in art school, but before we went to art school, so in 5th grade, 6th grade, was this thing that people saw anime and manga as this weird and bizarre, no pun intended, media that was almost how do I say this? Ruining the kids' taste and guiding them through wicked paths and a bad life, I guess, which was kind of weird, but it's not surprising since there was a lot of fear and misinformation back then about anime and manga. You know how a lot of people still think nowadays that Pokemon is some weird, devilish art piece, art media, whatever, like video game? In Portugal, what I kind of feel like happened a lot back then, at least when we went through art school, was that people looked at anime and manga in the sense where it was all so bad for the kids, so grotesque, so explicit, and just not suitable for the Portuguese youth, and just like not suitable for consumption, which is wild and honestly a shame, because anime is something that really changed, I think really changed my generation of artists and just people who really like animation in Portugal. When we were in 5th, 6th grade, me and Marty were in a religious Catholic school, so we really like saw firsthand how a lot of people thought anime was this almost like satanic thing, which is weird. So they kind of saw anime as this thing from a country that was very far from Portugal, that could ruin the youth, and that never really stopped us from liking anime. It never really stopped anyone from that school from liking anime, but it was such a weird misconception that they had specifically. But then when we got into art school, what would happen, at least what I saw in most of our drawing teachers, history of arts teachers, and just art teachers in general, was that they kind of looked at anime as a weak art media, like as something that had no artistic value because, oh, the Japanese only care about doing profit, so anime does not have any quality. It's so bad. The stories are not interesting and the art is cheap. Honestly, saw drawing teachers tell colleagues and even tell me that the more you go away from anime and the more you dive into the classical side of art, the better you'll become at drawing, because drawing is not a cartoony thing, it's a classical thing meant to represent our world. So in some way, I do think these misconceptions and this hatred for anime came from just a lot of ignorance and free hatred for cultures that are not similar to the Portuguese culture. But I do understand from online communities, online art communities, that this sentiment of art schools and art teachers encouraging students to not consume anime because it's a weak artistic medium is actually something that happens a lot, and it's really sad to see.
And the thing that for me personally also like bothers me the most about this whole anime isn't a real art medium that a lot of art teachers say is also that it kind of plays in a lot of xenophobia. Like, they immediately judge it just because it isn't something from, like, an European country or, like, a white-dominated country.
Yeah, I agree.
And also, like, again, it's growing up as a white person seeing a lot of discourse around how a lot of these teachers judge anime and also manga so quickly really stems from a lot of also very, I will have to say, racist stereotypes. But again, I don't really know if I can use that word, but xenophobia is something that's always been present. Like, when art teachers say this, for example, like, okay, it's fine for you to get inspired by classic art made by French people and German people and the Italians because apparently that's real art, but what? A Japanese person making art isn't considered real? And it also doesn't help that there's also a lot of people who stereotype anime and manga as, like, weird, gross stuff that's made for, like, to cater to people's fetishes, which, yes, there is a lot of anime out there that have a lot of very
weird
gross
content,
stuff,
yeah.
But then, like, they completely sidetrack whenever there's a mainstream, like, media that also has a lot of weird stuff in it. So, for example, like, an anime scene has a very gross, perverted scene, but then when, like, a famous movie from the United States, nobody cares, and it's really strange. Like, there's a lot of discourse around that in the anime community, especially when it comes to very sensitive topics that don't really have to do with this video, but still. It really plays an important part when we talk about anime teachers, art teachers really disliking anime. And again, growing up, and as Mari said, we went to a Catholic school around like 6th, 7th grade, so seeing a lot of a lot of not only art teachers, but also like a lot of the very religious teachers we had in that Catholic school say, oh, anime and manga are stuff from the devil, they're satanic, always felt so odd. And how also very, again, this is also very like normalized not only shame, but also bullying, because there were kids who would bully me, Mari, and our friends for liking anime and manga. And nowadays, you probably see a lot of those mean kids also like anime and manga,
Exactly.
which makes no sense. Like, oh, you only like it when it's a trendy, fun thing to like, but you actually don't like it because you used to shame and judge other kids for liking it.
Yeah, there's like a very harsh double standard when we talk about these things, because it's not all art teachers in Portugal that hate anime. That's not what we're saying. It's that it's a quantity of teachers big enough for you to start to be preoccupied, if you get what I mean. But what I've seen is that, at least now that we're in university, is that university teachers are very open to all media. They're way more mature and they can see the value in anime. But then the high school teachers and the 6th grade teachers are the ones that are more immature and that are more racist and just mean to anime.
And I can confirm this because I'm currently doing a illustration course, and 2 of my teachers really like anime. Like, there's one of my teachers that's always going to class at all of the classes he's been with us, that he's bringing this hoodie of an anime called Sakamoto Days. And it's so funny because, like, again, people always have this really stereotype, like, oh, our teachers hate anime, but then we have those 2 teachers of mine that like, oh yeah, that's pretty cool and chill, and also like it. And they also, you know, like, there was a whole work we did in class where we had to like do a presentation on artists we liked, and 2 of the 3 artists I chose were, well, mangakas, or in this case, manga authors, or manga artists. I'm not sure what's the correct term. And you know what, that teacher said? Hey, that's cool, I also like those that manga too. And yeah, it was really cool and reassuring to know that I was in a, well, safe space to talk about the things I like. And this is also something that, ends up being very sad when we talk about this topic, because there's a lot of people who end up letting go of anime and manga and all these things because, oh, it's cringe and I was bullied for it. And then these people, when they let go of anime, they either A, feel very ashamed and never want to see it ever again, or they just B, become the thing that they kinda hated because they end up shaming others for liking anime, manga, and stuff. So it really is a sad thing. I have seen it happen with friends of mine, and that's really sucks. Like, friends of mine, like, judging things very quickly and not wanting to getting something because, oh, but that's like an anime/manga, so it's kind of weird. But like, really, I am gonna say this here. There have been a lot of anime and manga that have changed my life, genuinely. The first manga I ever finished was Assassination Classroom, and yeah, the title is wild and it got banned in a lot of libraries and schools, like in the United States and other countries, but genuinely, like, the story, yes, it is a comedy, it's very funny, but the ending, I finished the anime last year too, so I can say this, is extremely heartbreaking and it touched me so much. I might not be into Assassination Classroom nowadays that much, but I still will never forget it because it was not only the first manga I ever completed, I have all the 21 volumes translated to Portuguese Portugal, and also because, well, it's a very special story and it also taught me to follow my dreams and also never forget the memories you made in school. And now that in university, I still cherish anime and manga a lot because, well, it opened my eyes to this brand new medium that was, well, cool and not the very weird satanic thing a lot of people have told me in the past.
And now, our third and last topic for this video is why we think the artistic education system should change. I do want to clarify that classical art is extremely important for anyone that wants to be good at drawing, painting, animation, etc. Because it kind of built the values that are taught in art school and that are just, I guess, that established art as a medium that humans love and cherish and that artists create and produce. So when we say that art teachers should stop with their blatant hatred and shameful behavior towards anime and manga, it's not because classical art is bad. No, both are good and both can coexist. But the idea that something from Japan, in this case an Asian country, is worse than the European history with arts just because it's a different culture and just because the characters have colorful hairs and the proportions of the body are not correct and the eyes are too big is dumb. It's stupid. And people can develop their art by learning cartoony art styles and realism at the same time by experimenting and consuming anime as an inspiration and as something they like.
I am gonna admit here, I honestly still have no idea about how the correct proportions in an anatomy of a human body works. And that's because, well, I never really had interest in studying it because, again, realism was never my thing. I've always liked more cartoony, exaggerated art styles that are able to, not only distort the body and the proportions, but also be creative and unique, like I said. And I feel like we need to, in this case, art schools, of course they don't have to change everything about them, it's only this aspect. I feel like art teachers, well, if I was an art teacher, I would try to not only encourage my students to study and also analyze, classical art and some of the things many artists, famous artists from back in the day, but also, new modern media and art and pieces of fiction, because, again, the fact that there's also this really weird stigma, not only around anime and manga, but also other, cartoons and more westernized media, that, nowadays all cartoons are childish and dumb and stupid and all of the good things were all back in the day. When there's a lot of really modern shows and anime that are so good, but people seem to back away because they all think they're all just gonna be dumbed down for children when, again, there's a lot of anime and manga, in this case talking about anime and manga, that are very dark and talk about very serious topics. So the fact that also anime and manga are always considered childish because, the character has green hair and yellow eyes is very strange. And just like any other piece of media, anime and manga also have, kids shows and not really cartoons, but stuff catered for kids and teens and young adults and older adults. So again, this is really strange how a lot of these art teachers, end up applying all of these things, not only from this already very growing and weird xenophobia towards, because anime and manga are from Japan, from an Asian country, therefore it's bad because it isn't something mainstream. And again, anime is now very mainstream in a lot of aspects. Not fully mainstream, but is already becoming very mainstream. And yeah, I think this is really weird. The fact that this is so normalized that we gotta learn of course, we can learn the basics of the human body and realism and all that and study all of the classical art, but we should also be able to create new things and innovate. You know what I mean?
Studying realism can help anyone in any art style. In my case, studying anatomy throughout the pandemic and just my journey throughout art school really helped me, because my art style is honestly semi-realism at this point, because I really pay attention into the anatomy of my characters, into the realistic side of things and how I can distort and how I can exaggerate and just experiment with it. But the thing is, art school should not be restrictive. It should not be something that limits students. It should be an education system that gives them wings to fly, to go further into what they like and what they deem as their unique styles and likes, and how they're going to just become artists, better artists.
And this negative mindset a lot of art teachers put into their students end up also making a lot of people not only give up from art, but never touch it again.
Yeah.
And that's really sad because personally, I do want to follow art. It's the only thing that I really see myself do in the future, but also there's a lot of moments that I've always had, like any artist out there, and also, not only this, but also the rise of generative AI and all that. Having a lot of doubts about their art, and yeah, lately, again, a lot of artists have been giving up because of it. All of these factors combined, and as an artist myself, who's still growing and learning and trying to improve my skills, it really is saddening because there have been moments where I have been very in doubt of whether I should still follow arts or if it's all worth it. And then again, whenever I go, I don't know, read a manga or watch an anime I like, or maybe just watch something new, I end up getting inspired and motivated to keep on going. For me, real artists, not just from the manga and anime industry, but also overall in the art industry in general, should always be the ones who are truly passionate for what they make. Even if they don't make 1,000 pieces of art a year or a day, they should still be valued. So what what I personally want you guys to also take from this is that, okay, you don't have to be a fan of anime or manga. If you find it cringe or weird, okay, it's your opinion, but please don't judge other people for it. And also, again, if you're feeling doubtful or if you like, oh, I like this anime and manga, but I don't really have anybody to talk about, well, I feel like out there might be someone who will be able to talk to you about it. For example, I feel like I wouldn't have gotten into anime and manga if it weren't for, having someone like my sister Mari or our friends who also share the same interests and who also like to draw and the things we like, because, well, they give us, again, a safe space for us to create, for us to talk in a safe space where we can criticize and praise and
learn.
Yes, learn. The message of this video is to keep creating. And please be, open-minded when it comes to these new pieces of media, because maybe, okay, you can think they're weird or bizarre or strange, however you want to say it, odd, but at least be willing to say, or in this case, to say to yourself, oh, okay, this is a different piece of medium, I may not like it, but, well, it's a piece of art. Like, there are artists out there that I don't like, but again, I can judge them, I can say, oh yeah, this sucks, but I won't be, judgmental about it. I want to say like, oh, okay, I don't like this type of art, but again, if it's something made by a real human and they had time and effort put into it, then I can understand that, okay, it was made by someone who actually cares about art. So I feel like that's, a sentiment that, or in this case, a feeling more art teachers and people in general who judge anime and manga should have.
Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching until the end. We are just honestly so happy that this channel has become a safe space for me and Marty, for us to experiment and just talk about whatever we want and share our art and our opinions on the internet. The internet and online art communities can be very, very toxic, but we want to do a positive impact and we want to be a positive force, if that's how I could put it. So we hope this video is just content that you should watch in your free time about anime and just the arts in general.
Bye!
Bye!